purpose of this video is to show you the correct way to perform a successful code inspection. It will also show some of the potential pitfalls that may occur during a code inspection and steps to take to keep the code inspection focused on its main purpose. The purpose of an inspection meeting is to find defects, log them, and allow the author of the code to create fixes to the defects after the meeting. We will now demonstrate how a code inspection is done in the correct manner.
Okay, good morning everyone. Let's get started. As you know, we're here today to do a code inspection on the Prince-Spooler code written by Lee. And as we previously agreed to, Raghu will be the scribe this morning and Tom will be the reader of the code. Unless anyone has any questions, let's get started. Tom?
All right. Well, the class description indicates that a string buffer is used to collect information which is eventually written to system.out. It's also supposed to implement the singleton design pattern. Assuming everybody agrees with this, I'll continue on.
Lee, why does this need to be a singleton?
There should be only one spooler for each physical printer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, shall we continue?
All right, in lines 11 through 15, we have a public class called Prince-Spooler, private static attribute of the same Prince-Spooler class. Gets initialized to a new Prince-Spooler. The next attribute is a public instance variable of type string buffer. Anyone find any problems here?
Yes. In line 13, the spooler attribute should be initialized to null.
Does everyone agree that this is actually a defect?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I found that one as well.
Yes, I agree.
I propose that we make this a high priority defect, unless someone disagrees.
Raghu, can we capture this in the code inspection report?
Line 13, high priority, spooler attribute to null. Got it.
All right, any other problems with this section of code?
Yes, in line 15, the attribute should be declared private to keep it encapsulated.
Yeah, I found that one as well. I think that should be a high priority defect.
Does everybody agree that this should be a high priority defect?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, let's log it in the inspection report.
Line 15, high priority, attribute should be private. Got it.
All right, let's move on to the next section.
In lines 17 through 26, we have a public empty constructor and then a public get Prince-Spooler method, which returns a Prince-Spooler. Creates the local variable mySpooler and initializes it to the spooler class variable. Now, if the spooler is null, we create a new Prince-Spooler object and assign that to mySpooler. We then return the attribute mySpooler. Any problems with this section of code?
Yes, there are two things. First, if this is a singleton, then the constructor should be declared private in line 17. Second, the spool buffer variable should be initialized.
Yes, I found that during my review as well.
Yes, I agree. I didn't catch that when I first wrote this code.
I would propose making this defect a medium priority.
Okay, it looks like we've got agreement on that one. Raghu, could we capture that in the inspection report, please?
Line 17, medium priority, constructor should be private and initialize spool buffer. Got it.
Another thing is that in line 21, I think that method should be declared static, and the method should use the spooler attribute solely. Again, this is for the correct implementation of the singleton pattern, and I think that should also be a high priority defect.
Tom, I agree with the defect, but I have a question about the priority. In the constructor of line 17, we said that the singleton defect was a medium priority. Here we're saying it's a high priority. Should they be the same?
Yeah, I think they should be the same. I think that properly implementing the pattern is what's important here, so I would rank both these defects as high priority.
Does everybody agree? Good. Raghu, could we modify the priority for the defect in line 17 to high, please?
I have it in the inspection report.
All right, in lines 27 through 30, we have an add string method, which takes a string argument and returns nothing. It appends that string argument to the end of the spool buffer. Any problems with this section of code?
Nope, it looks good.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, if everyone agrees, let's move on.
All right, lines 31 through 35, we have an add char method. It takes a char and a length and again returns nothing. It appends that provided care while the count is less than the length. Any problems with this code?
Yes, in line 32, it looks like we have an off by 1 defect. The loop seems to go through one less time than it should. For example, the condition could be less than or equal to, but I don't want to fix it here. So the defect is the loop goes through one less time than it should.
Yeah, I found that one too. I'd make that a high priority defect.
Very much so.
You're right. I hadn't caught that one.
Line 32, high priority, off by 1 error. I got that in the inspection report.
All right, that completes the inspection of this code. Does anyone have anything else to add?
No, I think we're all set.
I think we've discussed everything we need to.
All right, good. Let's wrap up. Raghu, will you be able to get the inspection report that we created today to Lee for him to follow up on the things that we found?
Will be done today.
Okay, great. Lee, the items that we found today, fixes for that need to be incorporated into the next build, and which will be coming up at the end of the week. Will you be able to work on that and get that done?
Sure, that should be no problem at all.
Okay, good. Unless there's any questions, I believe that we've completed the inspection of this code. Thank you.
In this meeting, each participant fulfilled their roles for a successful code inspection. We will now demonstrate how during a code inspection, sometimes those involved in the inspection try to work on a solution when a defect is found. When this occurs, the moderator will bring the discussion back on track to finding and recording defects and then moving forward.
All right, in lines 36 through 40, we have a print method. Prepends a header to the spool buffer and then writes that buffer to system.out. Any issues with this section of code?
Yes. In line 37, the hard-coded string should be replaced by a string constant. And repeated calls to the print method can put multiple headers in spool buffer. Here's what I think we should do to fix this. I think we should create a flag and check the flag to...
Raghu, the purpose of today's meeting is to find defects, capture it, log it in the report, and then move on. Lee can work on any defects that we find following the inspection meeting, so we don't need to fix it here. Does everyone agree that this is a defect?
Yes, it should be a medium priority.
Okay, let's log it and move on.
Okay. Line 37, medium priority, hard-coded string, and multiple headers. Got it.
All right, moving on. In lines 36 through 40.
As demonstrated in this meeting, the role of the moderator includes keeping the meeting focused and bringing the meeting back on track if participants begin to deviate and discuss problem fixes. We will now demonstrate how, during a code inspection, sometimes those involved try to bring up questions of programming style versus actual defects which will cause failures. When this occurs, the moderator will bring the discussion back on track of finding and recording real defects and then moving forward.
All right, in lines 11 through 15, we have a public class called PrintSpooler. It has a private static attribute. That same PrintSpooler class gets initialized to a new PrintSpooler. The next attribute is a public instance variable of type string buffer. Anybody find any problems here?
Yes. In line 13, the spooler attribute should be null.
Okay, does everyone agree that this is actually a defect?
Yes, I agree.
Any other problems with this section of code?
Yes, line 15. As I reviewed the code, I had some problems with some of the naming conventions that were used. This won't cause the program to fail, but I think some changes need to be made. For example, in line 11, print spooler should be called print underbar spooler. And also, looking ahead to line 31, I think the variable would be better if it was named myCare instead.
You know, Scott, those really aren't coding defects.
Okay, folks, remember what we're here for today. We're here to find actual defects that cause the program to fail. We're not here to talk about programming style, okay? So let's stay focused on actually finding defects. Scott, your feedback on the code is appreciated, but again, let's focus on only defects that make the program fail, okay?
Okay.
Raghu, can we capture the defect that we found in line 13 into the inspection report? Relative to Scott's comments, please also make a note that Lee should adhere to our coding standards.
line 13, spooler attribute to null. Got it.
Okay, great. Let's move on. Tom?
Okay, any other problems with this section of code?
As demonstrated in this meeting, the role of the moderator includes keeping the meeting focused and bringing the meeting back on track if participants begin to deviate and discuss issues of programming style. We will now demonstrate how during a code inspection, sometimes the author of the code being inspected becomes defensive of his or her work when a question is raised about a potential defect. If the author becomes defensive about his or her work or a point that has been raised, the moderator brings the discussion back on track in terms of finding and recording defects in a positive manner and then moving forward.
Good morning, everyone. The purpose of getting together this morning is to do an inspection of the Principler software written by Jim. As we previously agreed to, Tom will be the reader and Raghu will be the scribe. Unless there's any questions, let's get started.
Okay, one thing that I found is that in line 37, that hard-coded string should be replaced by a string constant.
Does everyone agree that this is actually a defect?
Yes, I do.
Now wait a minute. This code will work just fine as written. Code's code. If it works, we don't have to discuss it.
Jim, wait a minute. The purpose of getting together is to inspect your software, find defects, and improve its quality. We're all here just trying to help, okay? So this is a valid defect. Let's move forward.
Okay, sorry about that.
I would make that a medium priority defect.
Okay, let's log it into the inspection report.
Okay, line 37, medium priority, hard-coded string. Got it.
As demonstrated in this meeting, the role of the moderator includes keeping the meeting focused and bringing the meeting back on track if the author becomes defensive over any issues or defects raised during the inspection meeting. We will now demonstrate how, during a code inspection, sometimes the author of the code being inspected is attacked in a personal manner by others in the code inspection, rather than focusing on real defects. If the author is attacked in a personal manner by another participant, the moderator brings the discussion back on track in terms of finding and recording defects in a positive manner, and then moving forward.
Okay, one thing that I found is that in line 37, that hard-coded string should be replaced by a string constant.
Does everyone agree that this is a defect?
Yes, I do.
Jim, this is just typical of the code you usually write. With all your experience, you shouldn't be making mistakes like this. You're just wasting our time.
Fine, Tom. If you don't like it, fix it yourself.
Tom, wait a minute. This is a valid problem, but any one of us could have written software like this. Let's move forward, okay?
I would make this a medium priority.
Okay, let's log it in the inspection report.
Line 37, medium priority, hard-coded string.
As demonstrated in this meeting, the role of the moderator includes keeping the meeting focused and bringing the meeting back on track if the author is attacked personally during the inspection meeting by another participant. We will now demonstrate how during a code inspection, sometimes a valid defect will be brought up, but become lost in the conversation of the meeting. When this happens, the quality of the software artifact will suffer because the problem is not logged in order for the author to correct it after the inspection meeting.
All right, in lines 11 through 15, we have a public class called PrintSpooler. Has a private static attribute of the same PrintSpooler class that gets initialized to a new PrintSpooler. The next attribute is a public instance variable of type string buffer. Anyone find any problems?
Yes, in line 13, the spooler attribute should be initialized to null.
Does everyone agree that this is a defect?
Yes, I found that as well.
Also, in line 15, that attribute should be declared private to keep it encapsulated. I think we should make that a high priority defect.
Does everybody agree that this is a high priority defect?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, let's log it in the inspection report.
Okay. Line 15, high priority, attribute should be private. Got it.
Great. Let's move on to the next section of code.
The defect in line 13, which was raised, was not recorded in the code inspection report to be fixed. The problem was encountered after product release. Fixing this problem at this point in time costs substantially more than if the problem was fixed earlier in the development cycle. The role of the moderator includes ensuring that any defects found during the inspection meeting are recorded by the scribe in the inspection report. The purpose of the inspection meeting was to find defects, log them, and allow the author of the code to create fixes to the defects after the meeting. We hope that this video has demonstrated how to avoid potential pitfalls during a code inspection meeting, as well as to demonstrate how to run a successful code inspection.